Ambassador Tay's face appeared on every screen of every Krell ship simultaneously. The Krell tried to cut the transmission. They couldn't. Humanity had spent 2 weeks infiltrating their systems with nanites. Now those same nanites controlled their communications. Behind Tay, through observation windows, Earth was visible. Battered, burning in places, but still intact, still fighting. Cities that should have been destroyed still stood. Defenses that should have failed still held. "You've conquered 12 galaxies," Tay began, his voice calm despite everything. "Right. You've enslaved countless species. You believed humanity would be no different, but you were wrong." On the Krell flagship, Vothrek roared at his technicians. "Cut this transmission, now." They couldn't. The human had complete control. The species you conquered before us developed their technology for exploration, Tay continued. They built ships to discover new worlds. They created energy systems to power their civilizations. They designed tools to improve their lives. When you came, they had to turn their peaceful technology into weapons. They weren't ready for real war. Images appeared beside Tay. Human history. Thousands of years of conflict compressed into minutes. Empires rising and falling. Weapons evolving from stones to nuclear bombs. Wars that killed millions. Humanity never had that luxury, Tay said. We didn't develop technology for peace. We developed it for war and then found peaceful uses later. Our rockets were missiles first. Our computers were designed to calculate missile trajectories. Our satellites were built for military surveillance. Our nuclear plants came from bombs. Everything we have, everything we've built started as a weapon. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Yu watched the Krell fleet carefully. They were still fighting, still firing, but confusion was spreading through their ranks. Good. This means something you didn't understand, Tay continued. We know how to weaponize anything, not just technology, information, psychology, even our own weaknesses. We've spent thousands of years learning how to hurt each other. Now we're using those lessons on you. Suddenly, every Krell ship received a massive data upload. Billions of files. Complete records of human warfare, strategic analyses, tactical manuals, weapons specifications, psychological warfare techniques. 14,000 years of accumulated knowledge about how to kill, destroy, and dominate. But that wasn't the important part. Mixed in with the human data was something else. Information extracted from the Krell's own databases. The locations of every Krell facility in 12 galaxies. Maps of their supply lines. Weak points in their defenses. Communications codes. Command structures. Everything. And this information wasn't just being sent to the Krell. It was being broadcast across 12 galaxies. To every enslaved species. To every neutral civilization. To everyone. On a world called Heth, enslaved crystalline beings received the transmission. They learned where their Krell overseers kept their weapons, where the security systems had blind spots, how to disable the control collars that prevented them from using their light-bending powers. Within hours, the first rebellion began. On Uern Prime, the telepathic collective that had been forced to serve the Krell suddenly had information they needed. Tactical data, structural weaknesses, and most importantly, they learned they weren't alone. Humanity had resisted. Humanity had hurt the mighty Krell fleet. If one species could fight back, maybe others could too. Across 12 galaxies on hundreds of worlds, enslaved species looked at the data from Earth and felt something they hadn't felt in centuries. Hope. You've spent 300 years building an empire, Tay said, still broadcasting to the Krell fleet. You did it through intimidation, through overwhelming force, through making every species believe resistance was impossible. We just proved it wasn't impossible. We showed every species you've conquered that the Krell can bleed, that the Krell can be hurt, that the Krell can be beaten. Vothrek's face was a mask of rage. You've doomed your species. We will hunt every human across the stars. We'll make you a legend of what happens when you resist the Krell. Perhaps, Tay acknowledged. But we won't be alone, because we just gave every species you've conquered the tools to fight back. We gave them hope, and hope is more contagious than any virus, more destructive than any weapon. Commander Bo activated the final phase. throughout Krell-controlled space. Human deep space probes that had been secretly infiltrating their territory for 18 months suddenly came online. They weren't weapons. They were broadcasters. They began transmitting the truth about the Krell Empire. Not propaganda, not exaggeration, just facts. The Ythmari hadn't been defeated in honorable combat. They'd been massacred. The Krell had waited until their mating season when they were vulnerable, then attacked. The Orn Collective hadn't surrendered. They'd been betrayed by one of their own, whom the Krell had secretly corrupted. The Dreth hadn't been conquered through superior tactics. The Krell had poisoned the stars they lived in, forcing them to evacuate to ships where they were easily captured. Every conquest had a dark secret. Every victory had been won through treachery, timing, or targeting the helpless. The Krell's reputation as unbeatable warriors was built on carefully managed lies, and now everyone knew. "You wanted to teach us about war," Tay said. "But we've been at war since we learned to think. We didn't just fight you, we studied you. While your fleet was advancing, our nanites were copying your databases. While you were destroying our outer defenses, we were learning everything about you. You gave us 3 days. That was your first mistake. Your second was underestimating what we'd do with that time." Across the Krell Empire, rebellions erupted. Not coordinated, not planned, but simultaneous. Enslaved soldiers turned on their overseers. Conquered worlds attacked their occupiers. Supply convoys were ambushed. Communications networks were sabotaged. The mighty Krell Dominion, which had stood for 3 centuries, began to shake at its foundations. "You demanded war," Tay said quietly. "We gave you something worse. We revealed the truth. That your empire is built on fear and lies. That you're not invincible. That every species you've conquered could have resisted if they'd had the courage and the knowledge." Vothrek received urgent transmissions from across his empire. Worlds in revolt, fleets under attack from their own slave soldiers, supply lines collapsing. The Dominion was fracturing. "You've destroyed us," Vothrek said, and for the first time, his voice held something other than confidence. "You've burned down an empire." "No," Tay corrected. "We exposed an empire that was already rotten. We just showed everyone else what we saw. That you're bullies who prey on the weak and run from real challenges. You've never fought a war where both sides were equally committed. You've never faced an enemy willing to die rather than surrender. Until now." The Krell fleet began to withdraw, not in organized retreat, in panic. Ships breaking formation to return to their territories where rebellions were spreading. Others stayed, still trying to break through Earth's defenses, but their coordination was gone. The unstoppable fleet was now just a collection of desperate ships. On Earth, people watched the Krell flee. They cheered, they cried, they held each other in relief and exhaustion. The cities were damaged, millions had died, but they had survived. Earth still stood. In the facility under the Gobi Desert, Day powered down the endgame device. The stellar igniters would not be needed today. He sat down heavily, suddenly feeling every one of his years. He had created weapons to destroy a sun. He had prepared to sacrifice his entire species rather than see them enslaved. And somehow it had worked. "Will they come back?" asked the young technician who had been working beside him. Day considered the question. "Maybe. Probably, but not soon. They'll be too busy trying to hold their empire together, and when they do come back, we'll be ready. We've learned how to fight them now." In Geneva, President Saul addressed the Global Council. "We've won the battle, but the war isn't over. The Krell Empire is collapsing, but that creates chaos. Species that have been enslaved for centuries will need help. Worlds in rebellion will need support. We've made ourselves the spark that started a galactic revolution. Now we have to help guide it." Ambassador Tay stood before the council. "I recommend we begin outreach programs. Make contact with the species rising against the Krell. Share our technology, our knowledge, our experience, not to create our own empire, but to help them build their freedom." "And if the Krell return?" someone asked. "Then we'll fight again," Tay said simply. "But next time we won't be alone. Next time we'll have allies who understand what the Krell really are." General Ewell presented military recommendations. We need to expand our defense networks, build more ships, train more soldiers. The Krell aren't the only threat in the universe, but we've proven we can defend ourselves. Now, we need to make sure we stay ready. Dr. Na proposed scientific initiatives. We've developed weapons technology at an incredible pace. Now we should focus on reversing the process, taking what we've learned and using it for peaceful purposes. Quantum technology for communication, nanites for medicine, stellar engineering for energy production. Months passed. Earth slowly repaired itself. The scars of battle would take years to fully heal, but humanity was resilient. They had survived worse. The grand chamber of the Galactic Unity Council floated in the darkness of space like a jewel. Inside, representatives from 47 different alien species sat in their assigned seats. The meeting had been going on for 3 hours now, and most of them looked bored. Ambassador Talvin, a tall creature with blue skin and 4 arms, stood at the center podium. His voice echoed through the massive hall. And so, the Vextari Collective requests permission to claim the abandoned worlds in Sector 7. These planets have been empty for 50 years. No one lives there anymore. The other council members nodded slowly. Some were looking at their data pads. Others whispered to their assistants. These were human worlds once, Talvin continued. But the humans refused to follow our rules. They would not register with the council. They would not sign the agreements. They simply disappeared. A reptilian delegate raised her clawed hand. Are we certain the humans are gone? What if they return? Talvin laughed, and several other council members joined him. Return? From where? We have searched every corner of charted space. The humans are either dead or so far away that they might as well be dead. They were a small species anyway, maybe 20 billion of them at most. They had no real military power. They were not important. The chamber filled with the sounds of agreement, clicking, chirping, and humming in dozens of different alien languages. The lead counselor, an ancient being that looked like a floating brain in a glass container, spoke in a deep voice that rumbled through the room. Let us vote. All in favor of declaring humanity extinct and claiming their former territories. Hands, claws, tentacles, and appendages rose throughout the chamber. The vote was almost unanimous. It is decided then, the lead counselor announced. The human worlds are now open for colonization. Let us move to the next matter of business. But before anyone could speak, every screen in the chamber went dark. Then they flickered back to life, showing the same thing. Red warning lights. What is happening? Someone shouted. A young Vexitari officer ran into the chamber, his face pale with fear. Counselors, something just appeared. Something big. Calm yourself, Talvin ordered. What appeared? A ship. A massive ship just dropped out of faster-than-light travel right in front of the station. It appeared out of nowhere. The counselors rushed to the giant viewing window that made up one wall of the chamber. Outside, in the black of space, they saw it. The ship was enormous. Its hull was dark gray, almost black, with sharp angles and aggressive lines. It did not look like any ship in the council database. Strange symbols were painted on its side in white. The ship's engines glowed with a blue light that seemed almost too bright to look at. Run identification, Talvin commanded. The officer worked frantically at his control panel. Sir, the computer does not recognize this design. The hull material is unknown. The energy signature is. Sir, the energy signature is higher than any ship in our fleet. What does that mean? The reptilian delegate asked, her voice shaking. It means that ship has more power than our largest battle cruisers, the officer whispered. The chamber erupted into chaos. Counselors were shouting in their native languages. Some were trying to leave. Others demanded answers. The lead counselor's voice boomed through the noise. Silence! Everyone stopped and turned to look at the floating brain. Send a message to that ship, demand identification, and get our security forces here immediately. The officer nodded and sent the message. For a long moment there was nothing, just the enormous dark ship floating silently in front of them. Then, every speaker in the chamber crackled to life. The voice that came through was human. It was calm, clear, and cold. This is Captain Day of the Iron Phoenix. We are not registered with your council and we never will be. We have come for one reason only. You are holding one of our people prisoner. Ambassador Yoon was taken from his ship 3 months ago. You accused him of crimes he did not commit. You locked him away because he refused to sign away humanity's freedom. The counselors looked at each other in shock. Talvin stepped forward. This is outrageous. You cannot make demands of the Galactic Council. You will power down your weapons and submit to inspection or we will destroy you. Captain Day's laugh echoed through the speakers. It was not a friendly laugh. You can try, but I would not recommend it. You have 1 hour to release Ambassador Yoon and transport him to this ship. If you do not, there will be consequences. We do not negotiate with terrorists, Talvin screamed. Then I suppose we are at an impasse, Day replied. Oh, and counselors, you should know something. We have been watching you for 50 years. We know everything you have done. Every crime, every lie, every innocent species you have crushed. We kept records. The lead counselor spoke, trying to sound calm. If you are truly human, then you must understand reason. Come inside. We can talk about this. Surely we can reach an agreement. We tried that 50 years ago, Day said. Your answer was to demand we become your servants, to follow your laws, to give up our sovereignty. When we refused, you sent warships. When we fought back, you declared us outlaws. When we left, you erased us from your history. No, there will be no more talking. 1 hour. The transmission ended. The chamber was silent except for the sound of frightened breathing. Then every alarm in the station began to scream at once. The officer at his station looked up, his face white with terror. Counselors, there are more ships. 3 more just appeared. They are surrounding the station. On the viewing screen, 3 more massive human ships materialized from nowhere. They were even larger than the Iron Phoenix. Their weapons ports were open, and energy was gathering in their cannons. Where did they come from? Someone whispered. They were cloaked, the officer said. They have stealth technology we cannot detect. Talvin collapsed into the nearest chair. This is impossible. Humans do not have this kind of power. They were primitives. They were nothing. The reptilian delegate turned to him with fear in her eyes. Then we made a terrible mistake. We assumed they were weak because they were small. We assumed they were gone because we could not find them. But they were not gone. They were hiding. They were building. They were planning. Outside the window, the 4 human warships hung in space like silent predators. Their weapons were charged. Their shields were active. And somewhere in the dark between stars, more ships were surely waiting. The clock was ticking. 59 minutes remained, and the Galactic Unity Council, for the first time in 1,000 years, felt true fear. Inside the Iron Phoenix, Captain Day stood on the bridge with his arms crossed behind his back. The main screen showed the council station in perfect detail. He could see the panic through their windows. He could see their defense ships scrambling into position around the station. It was almost sad how predictable they were. Captain, they are moving military vessels into position, said Hana from the tactical station. She was a small woman with sharp eyes that missed nothing. 12 frigates, 6 destroyers, and 2 cruisers. They are trying to surround us, Day smiled slightly. Let them. Mina, open a channel to the other ships. Keep it encrypted. Mina nodded from her communications post. Her fingers danced across the controls. Channel open, sir. Rena, bomb soak, this is Day. Hold your positions, but keep weapons charged. Do not fire unless I give the order. We are not here to start a war. Not yet, anyway. 3 voices responded through the speakers. Understood, Captain. Day turned to his chief engineer, a man named June, who looked too young to be in charge of the most advanced drive system ever created by humanity. June, how are our systems? Running perfectly, sir, June replied with a grin. The new quantum drives are performing better than expected. We could jump to the other side of the galaxy right now if we wanted to. Good. Keep them ready. We might need to leave quickly. Hana looked up from her station. Captain, the Council security ships are powering up their weapons. I think they are preparing to fire. Of course they are, Day said calmly. Quan, activate defensive measures, but do not return fire. Not yet. Quan, the weapons officer, was a serious man with gray hair. He had fought in the last war with the Council 50 years ago. He still had the scars. Yes, sir. Shields to maximum. Point defense systems online. Countermeasures ready. On the main screen, Day watched as the Council ships moved closer. They thought they were being clever. They thought their numbers would intimidate him. They did not understand yet. Mina's station beeped. Sir, incoming transmission from the Council. It is Ambassador Talvin. Put him through, Day ordered. Talvin's face appeared on the screen. His blue skin looked even paler than before. Captain Day, you must listen to reason. What you are doing is an act of war. The entire Council fleet is on its way here. They will arrive in 6 hours. You cannot win against all of us. Day stepped closer to the screen. Ambassador Talvin, let me explain something to you. 50 years ago, humanity asked to join your council as equals. We offered friendship and cooperation. You demanded submission. You wanted us to give up our independence, our military, our right to govern ourselves. When we refused, you attacked us. That is not what happened, Talvin protested. It is exactly what happened, Day said coldly. You sent 12 warships to Earth. You thought you would scare us into surrendering. Instead, we destroyed 8 of your ships and crippled the other 4. You expected us to be weak. You were wrong. Talvin was silent for a moment. What happened after that was unfortunate. But it was 50 years ago. Things are different now, are they? Di asked. You just voted to steal our former colony worlds. You declared us extinct without even checking if it was true. You have been holding our ambassador prisoner for 3 months without trial. Tell me, Ambassador Talvin, what exactly has changed? We did not know humans were still alive. If we had known, you would have done the same thing, Day interrupted. Because that is what you always do. You find species that are smaller or weaker, and you force them to obey. You call it unity, but it is just tyranny with better marketing. The screen suddenly split. Another face appeared. It was the lead counselor, the floating brain in its glass container. Captain Day, this conversation is pointless. You have made your demands. We are considering them, but you must understand our position. We cannot simply release a prisoner because someone threatens us. It would set a dangerous precedent. Day's expression did not change. Then let me set a different precedent. Hana, show them! Hana pressed several buttons on her console. Suddenly all the screens in the council chamber changed. They showed images. Thousands of images. Recordings of secret meetings. Financial records. Communication logs. Evidence of corruption, theft, and murder stretching back decades. What is this? The lead counselor demanded. This is what we have been doing for 50 years, Day explained. While you thought we were gone, we were watching. We infiltrated your networks. We recorded everything. Every crime your council has committed. Every species you have exploited. Every treaty you have broken. It is all here. The counselors in the chamber were shouting now. Some were trying to access the files. Others were denying what they were seeing. The panic was spreading. Day continued, his voice cutting through the chaos. And now these files are being broadcast across every council world simultaneously. Everyone can see what you really are. Your own people are watching right now. How long do you think they will let you stay in power once they know the truth? Talvin's face was twisted with rage. You cannot do this. This is blackmail. This is terrorism. No, Day said quietly. This is justice. You wanted to know what humanity has been doing for 50 years? We have been building. We have been learning. We have been getting stronger. But most importantly, we have been documenting your crimes, and now the galaxy will judge you. The lead counselor's voice was desperate now. Stop this. We will release your ambassador. We will give you whatever you want. Just stop the broadcast. The broadcast cannot be stopped, Mina said from her station. It is coming from 1,000 different sources across council space. Even if you destroyed the ship right now, the information would continue spreading. Day leaned forward. Here is what will happen now. You will release Ambassador Yoon immediately. You will also release every other prisoner you are holding without proper cause. There are 17 of them from various species. We know who they are and where they are being held. You have 1 hour. And if we refuse? Talvin asked, though his voice had lost its strength. Quan looked up from the weapons station. Captain, I'm detecting weapons lock from the Council security ships. They are preparing to fire, Day sighed. Disable them, Quan. Non-lethal if possible. Yes, sir. What happened next lasted only 3 seconds, but it changed everything. The Iron Phoenix emitted a pulse of energy that swept across the surrounding space. Every Council security ship suddenly went dark. Their engines stopped. Their weapons powered down. Their life support switched to emergency backup. They were floating hulks now, completely helpless. The Council chamber was silent. Every counselor stared at the screen in horror. "How?" Talvin whispered. "Electromagnetic pulse weapons," June explained helpfully. "We invented them 30 years ago. Very useful for disabling hostile ships without killing anyone. Of course, we have other weapons too, much more destructive ones, but we prefer not to use those unless we have to." Day straightened his uniform. "You have 53 minutes left. I suggest you spend them wisely. Release the prisoners or we will come and get them ourselves. And trust me, you do not want us to do that." He nodded to Mina, who cut the transmission. The screens in the Council chamber went black. Hana looked at her captain. "Sir, long-range sensors are detecting a large fleet approaching." "It is the Council Armada. They will be here in 5 hours and 40 minutes. "Right on schedule," Day said. "Everything is going according to plan. And if they attack us when they arrive?" Quan asked. Day smiled, but it was not a kind smile. "Then they will learn the same lesson their security ships just learned. Humanity is not the weak species they remember. We are something new now, something they should have feared from the beginning." Outside, the 4 human warships hung in space like silent guardians. And across Council space, on 1,000 different worlds, billions of people were reading files that would change their government forever. The hour was ticking down. The Council chamber was in complete chaos. Counselors were shouting at each other in dozens of different languages. Some were demanding they attack the human ships immediately. Others wanted to negotiate. A few had already left, returning to their home worlds before the situation got worse. Ambassador Talvin stood at the center podium, trying to restore order. His forearms were raised, gesturing for silence. "Please, everyone! We must remain calm." But no one was listening. The screens around the chamber continued to show the evidence that humanity had collected. 50 years of Council crimes displayed for everyone to see. Already protests were starting on Council worlds. The public was angry. They wanted answers. The lead counselor's voice boomed through the chamber. "Enough." The room fell silent. Everyone turned to face the floating brain in its glass container. "We have 12 minutes before the human deadline expires," the lead counselor said. "We must make a decision. Do we release the prisoners and negotiate? Or do we stand firm and fight?" A large insect-like counselor clicked its mandibles. "If we give in to their demands, we look weak. Every other species will think they can threaten us and get what they want. And if we fight, we might lose," the reptilian delegate countered. "Did you see what they did to our security ships? They disabled 18 vessels in 3 seconds. 3 seconds? What chance do we have against weapons like that?" "They only have 4 ships, Talvin argued. "Our armada has 300 ships. Even with superior technology, they cannot fight that many." "Can they not?" asked a quiet voice from the back. Everyone turned. It was Counselor Zan, an elderly being from a species known for wisdom and patience. He rarely spoke, but when he did, people listened. "What do you mean?" Talvin asked. "I mean that we do not know what humanity is truly capable of," Zan said slowly. "They disappeared for 50 years. 50 years. They had all that time to build, to research, to prepare. Those 4 ships might be just the beginning. What if there are more? What if their stealth technology means we cannot see their real fleet?" The chamber erupted again, this time with fear instead of anger. On the main screen, a new transmission appeared. It was Captain Day again, but he was not alone now. Ambassador Yoon stood beside him, looking thin but alive. There were others too, aliens from different species. The freed prisoners, counselors of the Galactic Unity Council. Day began. "Ambassador Yoon is safe. The other innocent prisoners are safe. We have completed the first part of our mission." "What is the second part?" the lead counselor demanded. Day's expression was serious. "The second part is showing you the truth. Not just about your crimes, but about what humanity has become." He gestured and the screen changed. It showed images of human worlds, not the old colonies the council remembered. New worlds, beautiful cities with towers that reached into the sky, shipyards where massive vessels were being constructed, academies where thousands of human children were learning science and technology, gardens and parks, art and culture, life. "You thought we were extinct," Day said. "You were wrong. We did not die. We thrived. While you were busy controlling your empire, we were building a civilization based on freedom and cooperation. Every human worked together. We had no internal conflicts, no wars among ourselves. All our energy went into progress. Ambassador Yoon stepped forward. His voice was weak but clear. I came to you 50 years ago with an offer of friendship. You rejected it. You demanded we submit to your authority. You wanted to control our military, our resources, our future. When we refused, you attacked us. You tried to make an example of us. We defended ourselves, Talvin protested. You sent warships to our home world, Yoon replied coldly. You fired on civilian targets. You killed thousands of innocent people, and you called it peacekeeping. The screens changed again. This time they showed footage from the war 50 years ago. Council ships attacking Earth, human cities burning. The images were horrifying. We remember, Dee said quietly. We remember every death, every destroyed home, every child who lost their parents. We remember all of it, and we spent 50 years making sure it would never happen again. The lead counselor floated forward. What do you want from us? You have your ambassador. You have exposed our secrets. What more is there? Justice, Ambassador Yoon said simply. Not revenge, justice. We want the council reformed. We want democratic representation for all species, not just the powerful ones. We want term limits for counselors. We want transparency in all decisions. We want an end to the corruption and oppression. That is impossible, Talvin shouted. You cannot expect us to completely change how we govern. Why not? Day asked. You expected us to completely change how we governed. You wanted us to give up our sovereignty and follow your rules. Now we are asking you to follow some basic principles of fairness and equality. Is that really so unreasonable? Before anyone could answer, alarms started blaring throughout the station. The officer at the security station looked up with wide eyes. The Armada has arrived. 300 ships just dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Everyone rushed to the viewing window. Outside, space was filled with Council warships. Cruisers, destroyers, carriers, and battleships. The fleet that protected the entire Council. They were arranged in attack formation surrounding the human ships. Finally, Talvin said with relief, now you will see true power. Surrender now, Captain Day, or be destroyed. Day looked at the fleet through the transmission. He did not seem worried. If anything, he looked almost bored. Quan, show them. On the Iron Phoenix's bridge, Quan pressed a single button. Suddenly, throughout the entire star system, ships appeared. Human ships. They had been cloaked, invisible to all sensors. Now they revealed themselves. There were not 4 human ships. There were 46. They appeared everywhere. Above the Council fleet, below it, surrounding it. Each ship was massive. Each one bristled with weapons. Each one glowed with the power of advanced technology. The Council Armada was now the one that was surrounded. The chamber was completely silent. Every counselor stared at the screens in shock. Even Talvin had no words. Let me explain our situation clearly, Day said calmly. We did not come here with 4 ships. We came with 50. 4 were visible. The rest were hidden. We knew you would call your fleet. We planned for it. We wanted you to see this moment. We wanted you to understand. Understand what? The lead counselor whispered. That humanity is not asking for your permission anymore, Day replied. We are informing you of new realities. You can accept them peacefully or you can fight. But if you fight, you will lose, not because we want to destroy you, but because we have spent 50 years preparing for this exact situation. Admiral Court, the commander of the Council Armada, appeared on another screen. He was a large military being with scars from many battles. Human Captain, this is Admiral Court. I have 300 ships under my command. You cannot win this fight. Admiral, Day said respectfully, look at your tactical displays. Really look at them. There was a pause. Then Admiral Court's face changed. The confidence drained away, replaced by growing horror. What? What am I seeing? You are seeing weapons locks, Quan explained from his station. Every human ship has multiple weapons aimed at multiple Council ships. Our targeting computers have calculated firing solutions for your entire fleet. If we fire, 70% of your ships will be destroyed in the first 10 seconds. The rest will be crippled within 30 seconds. Your fleet will cease to exist. This is a bluff, Court said, but his voice was uncertain. It is not a bluff, Day replied, but it is also not a threat. Admiral, we do not want to kill anyone. We came here to rescue our ambassador and to demand justice. That is all. Your fleet can leave peacefully. No one needs to die today. Ambassador Yoon spoke again. Admiral Court, I know you. We met once many years ago. You are a good soldier, an honorable one. Ask yourself this question. What are you really protecting here? A corrupt government that lies to its people? Or peace and justice? Court was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke quietly. I am protecting my home, my family, my people. So are we, Yoon said gently. So is every being in this system. We all want the same thing: safety, peace, freedom. The question is whether we achieve it through cooperation or through war. The Council Armada held its position. The human fleet held its position. For several minutes no one moved. No one fired. Everyone waited to see what would happen next. Then slowly Admiral Court's ship powered down its weapons. One by one the other Council ships did the same. 300 warships disarming in the face of 50. 6 months had passed since the day the Iron Phoenix arrived at the Council station. 6 months since humanity revealed itself to the galaxy once again. Many things had changed. Captain Day, now promoted to Fleet Admiral, stood in his new office aboard the Council headquarters. The office had a large window that showed the beautiful view of space. But Day was not looking at the view. He was reading reports on his datapad. There was a knock on the door. Come in, he said. Hana entered. She was wearing a captain's uniform now. After the standoff, Day had given her command of the Iron Phoenix. She had earned it. Admiral, the morning briefing is ready. Everyone is waiting for you, Day smiled. Still not used to calling me Admiral, are you? Honestly, no, sir. You will always be Captain Day to me. They walked together through the corridors of the headquarters. The building was different now. Humans worked alongside aliens. There was laughter in the halls. Cooperation instead of fear. The briefing room was full when they arrived. Ambassador Yoon was there, looking much healthier now. He had gained weight and the color had returned to his face. Beside him sat several other ambassadors from different species. The Reformed Council was much larger now. Every species had representation, not just the powerful ones. Good morning, everyone, Day said as he took his seat at the head of the table. Good morning, Admiral, they replied. Let us begin with the status reports. Ambassador Yoon? Yoon stood and activated his presentation. The new Council Charter has been ratified by 39 of the 47 member species. The remaining 8 are expected to approve it within the next month. The reforms are working. Democratic elections for council positions will begin next year. There were nods of approval around the table. The Transparency Initiative is also progressing well, Yoon continued. All council meetings are now broadcast publicly. Financial records are open for inspection. There have been no major corruption scandals in the past 3 months. The people trust their government again. Excellent work, Ambassador, Day said. He turned to another person at the table. It was Jin, the intelligence officer who had compiled all the evidence against the old council. Jin, what is the status of the justice trials? Jin was a quiet woman with sharp eyes. She spoke in a clear, precise voice. 43 former counselors and officials have been charged with crimes. 20 have already been tried and sentenced. The trials are fair and open. No one is being executed. The harshest sentences are life imprisonment. The galaxy sees that we meant what we said about justice, not revenge. And the victims? Day asked. All 17 prisoners we freed have been returned to their homeworlds. Most are doing well. Some are even working as advisors to the new council. They want to make sure what happened to them never happens to anyone else. Day felt satisfied with that. It was what he had hoped for. The door opened again. Commander Rena entered. She commanded one of the dreadnoughts that had accompanied the Iron Phoenix 6 months ago. Sorry I'm late, Admiral. I was finishing the inspection of the new defense network. How does it look? Dee asked. Perfect. The Joint Defense Fleet is operational. Humans and aliens working together to protect all Council worlds. We have 35 ships on active patrol, with another 50 in reserve. Response time to any emergency is under 4 hours anywhere in Council space. Day nodded. That was another change he was proud of. Instead of a fleet that enforced obedience, they now had a fleet that protected freedom. What about technology sharing? He asked, looking at June. The engineer had been busy over the past 6 months. June grinned. He always grinned when talking about technology. We have shared our basic shield designs with 8 species so far. They are adapting them for their own ships. The medical technology has been even more popular. Dr. Hai has been teaching alien doctors about our advanced healing methods. We have saved thousands of lives already. But we are keeping the military technology secret? Day asked seriously. Of course, Jun replied. Some things need to remain human advantages. Just in case. We trust the new council, but we still remember the old one. Everyone nodded. Trust was important, but so was caution. Mina, the communications officer, spoke up next. Admiral, I have news from Earth. The expansion project is ahead of schedule. 2 new colony ships will launch next month, both going to systems that the Council has officially granted to humanity. Granted, not given, Yoon added. We negotiated for those systems fairly. We paid for the rights. Everything is legal and proper, Day smiled. That was important too. Humanity was not taking what belonged to others. They were working within the system, the new reformed system that they had helped create. There is one more thing, Mina said. We have received over 40,000 applications from aliens who want to live on human worlds. They want to be part of our society. 40,000? Day was surprised. What species? All kinds. Vextari, reptins, even some from species that fought against us 50 years ago. They say they admire how humans work together. They want to learn from us, Ambassador Yoon stood up. If I may, Admiral, I think we should accept them. Not all of them at once, but some. Show the galaxy that humanity is not interested in isolation anymore. We are part of the galactic community now. Day thought about it for a moment. Then he nodded. Agreed. Work with the immigration office. Create a fair process. Anyone who wants to join human society and follow our laws should have the chance to do so. The meeting continued for another hour. They discussed trade agreements, scientific cooperation, cultural exchange programs, so many positive things. So different from the fear and conflict of 6 months ago. Finally, the meeting ended. People left to return to their work. Only Day and Yoon remained in the room. We did it, Yoon said quietly. We actually did it. We changed the galaxy. Day looked out the window at the stars. We gave them a chance to change. They made the choice. Some of them fought us at first, but most saw the truth. Most wanted something better. What do you think will happen now? Yoon asked. In the future? I think humanity will continue to grow and explore, but not alone anymore. We will work with others, learn from them, teach them. Together we will build something better than the old council ever was. And if someone threatens us again, if another enemy appears, Day's expression hardened, then we will be ready. The fleet is strong. Our technology is advanced. Most importantly, we are unified. Humanity learned its lesson 50 years ago. We learned that in this dangerous galaxy, survival depends on strength and unity. We have both now. Yoon smiled. I am glad you came for me, Day. I am glad you did not let me rot in that prison. We never leave our people behind, Day replied. That is humanity's promise. We keep our promises. They stood together looking at the stars for a while. Outside, human and alien ships moved in coordinated patterns, working together, protecting each other. Far away on Earth, children were learning about the day the Iron Phoenix revealed itself to the galaxy. They learned about courage and justice. They learned that sometimes, the right thing to do was to stand up to power even when it seemed impossible. They learned that humanity's greatest strength was not weapons or technology. It was the unbreakable will to remain free, to choose their own path, to never bow to tyranny no matter what form it took. The galaxy had tried to make humanity submit. Instead, humanity had made the galaxy better. The old council was gone, replaced by something fairer and more just. Corruption was being rooted out. Democracy was spreading. Species that had been oppressed were now free. All because one unregistered warship had emerged from the darkness and refused to back down. Day returned to his desk. There was work to do, reports to read, decisions to make. The fleet needed supplies. New officers needed training. Colony worlds needed support. But for just a moment, he allowed himself to feel satisfied. 50 years ago, humanity had been attacked and rejected. 50 years ago, they had been alone and afraid. Now they were strong. Now they were respected. Now they were home, and the galaxy was better for it. Outside the window, the Iron Phoenix hung in space like a silent guardian. Its dark hull reflected the light of nearby stars. It was a reminder, a symbol, not of war or aggression, but of what was possible when a species refused to give up. When they worked together, when they stood for what was right, even when the whole galaxy stood against them. The ship's crew was preparing for its next mission. Soon it would leave the station and return to patrolling the borders of human space, protecting, watching, ready, because that was humanity's role now. Protectors of the peace they had fought so hard to create, defenders of the freedom they had refused to surrender. The unregistered warship that had once terrified the Council was now a symbol of hope. And in the darkness of space, among the countless stars, humanity's message echoed clearly. We are here, we are free, and we will never submit.